Hello, podcast listener. Welcome to this Memorial Day edition of JJ Meets World. And if you're not listening to it on the day we released it, well, good news. It has nothing to really do with a specific day, more like the feeling you get during the summer. So sit back, grab some lemonade, enjoy that fresh cut grass smell, and enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is! He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
Tucker, welcome to summer. Who's excited?
Oh,
this
God.
kid right here, I can tell you that much.
Have you mowed yet?
Oh, yeah, twice.
Okay.
And we've had the people who come and spray the lawn because, I don't want weeds. I don't want thistles. And this year I have a unique conundrum with my back lawn that I need to take care of, which is for so long, the grading on my backyard is perfect. It is a slow slope and takes water away from my house, exactly what you want, but it's starting to get there are areas where we had 2 huge trees in the back that have been gone now for almost 30 years, and so we're starting to lose where roots and stuff had rotted away and the ground's kind of dropping in certain spots. And so this summer I have to just randomly start bringing in some dirt and kind of leveling out my backyard.
So I was kind of curious about that topic myself because this weekend, I haven't done it yet, but I did the full walk in the backyard of picking up all the big sticks and trying to see if I can figure out if there are any bunny nests anywhere that I need to watch out for and stuff like that. And the one thing I really don't like about my backyard is how rocky and uneven it feels when I'm walking across it.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like giant pits and valleys. It just feels like everything's really clumpy and uneven. And I don't know what I would need to do to fix that. And it sounds like that's what you're doing.
So there's a couple things. Now, when you say kind of clumpy and uneven, does it feel kind of like you're walking on what the surface of a Lego would kind of look like, where there's random little bumps here and there? Is it larger? Is it the type of thing where, your foot is angled up a little bit in some parts and angled down in other parts?
I would say it's more closer to that, where as you're walking around, you're not getting a good level footing.
So what I'm going to do for mine is I'll find the lowest spots and I'll fill that directly with dirt, and then I'll put grass seed on top of it. But I'm going to just essentially put a big pile of dirt along the entire back end, towards my house of my backyard. And then I'm going to pull that dirt with have you ever seen a landscaping rake?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to pull it with a landscaping rake all the way back. And so the idea is that it should just gradually fill those things while still maintaining the slope that I need.
Okay.
And then let it fill. You could probably, in all honesty, you could probably get 10 bags of dirt and your backyard could end up being the flatter surface that you're looking for.
And you're just putting that just over the grass that's there.
Yep. And your established grass will peek through it. It'll grow through it. So it's already germinated. It'll already get to where it needs to be. Okay. In fact, in a way, it'll strengthen your lawn a little bit because the deeper the roots for the grass can go, the more they will be hardy for drought and things like that.
So then should I give the lawn a really good mow before doing this?
I mean, let me ask you this. Where do you keep the blades on your lawnmower?
I always
how high?
I always adjust it depending on how kind of tall the grass looks, because I'm just trying to not get like gunked up in the
Yep.
passes.
Yep.
And so I have no set length I need it to be at, and I'm able to adjust up or down. So I could dial it in.
I mean, ideally, you should probably have it at like ankle height.
Okay.
You know, and like so the grass is to about your ankle.
Okay. I always just do like if I'm unsure, I always just go for the largest one that's the highest up. And then you just do a pass and and then you can see kind of what's left over. And then you can adjust a rung down if you want and go down till you find yourself at the right height. You have to do the same thing with beard maintenance.
Oh, really? Okay, so
Yeah.
explain that to me because I, as we know, do not grow facial hair.
Well, when you're trimming, you know, even I would say if you're just trimming the hair on your head, the worry is that you might trim too much, right? Because
Right.
you can't like add it back right away. That when you're cutting off hair in any way, that's a permanent, you know, until new hair grows in. And so if you want to keep a beard and you don't want to mess up the beard, you have to be really careful about cutting too much. And so if you've let your beard grow for a while and you're not quite sure what length of a beard you want, but you know you don't want one that just feels too short,
Yeah.
you've got those different length guides that you can put on the end of your trimmer, and you just go for the deepest one first and get rid of all that hair and see what it is that you look like when it's at that level. And then you can always keep going down. If you go too far, you can't like add it back.
I was recently with somebody who puts beard oil in their beard.
Mm-hmm.
And because I commented, I looked at it and I said, wow, you've got a really nice beard.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, oh, it's because I use beard oil. And I said, well, okay, so how do you get into the world of beard oil? Because it's not like something that like, oh, hey, guess what? I got beard oil. Like someone had, I feel like that's a secret that people talk to each other, or you get an issue of like Gentleman's Quarterly and they're like, our top 5 beard oils.
Yeah.
Okay, so summer's kicking off. I'm excited about it. One of the things I don't care for when it comes to summer is the fact that it always seems to go too fast. And so I am keeping a journal this year of something I do that's summary every single day. And they don't have to be gigantic things like, oh, I went to a water slide. But even things like, oh, I walked through the park and that, and wearing my sunglasses and then this. And even on days when it's not really nice out, on those kind of rainy days, I can still find summer things. You say, oh, played Monopoly on the app with Tucker today. Fun game. Dominated Second Street. Those little things that just make like such a big difference.
Yeah.
In remembering, because I think like that is, going into my like I'm having a midlife crisis thing. I have to constantly look back at the bigger picture and go like, wait a minute, hold on. There are a lot of things that I've had a chance to do and experience, and I can't take those for granted, right? Like,
right.
It's that mentality of like, well, this idea was great. What's your next good one? And the idea that like you never get a chance to like enjoy what you're doing because you're constantly moving forward to the next thing. And I need to realize how that, in fact, like I talked to my Aunt Deb. I had a family function yesterday and I said, well, how are things going? She's like, I'm really content and I'm really happy. And she talked about like, I've done some really cool things and I've traveled some amazing places. And she's like, I wake up every day and I'm like, gosh, I've led a really great life. And I was like, oh, that is the perspective that I need right now. I need to hear that. It's my jam. Anything you've got on your docket for the summer that you're excited about?
Oh, I mean, I really don't quite know exactly how it's going to unfold. I'm about to start a new job. And so anything that I might try to plan in the near future has to kind of revolve around what's this new job going to be like, since I'm starting that on Tuesday. So this will come out on Monday, on Memorial Day. So Tuesday will be new job day. So kind of once I think I've kind of got my sea legs there, I'll be able to know I can always look forward to going fishing. at the
Yeah.
lake cabin. There is just something about sitting at the end of the dock with like an ice cold can of Pepsi and just doing some still fishing with a bobber, and the feeling when the bobber like starts to get tugged on and starts to get pulled underwater, and just experiencing that sensation, 20 times for the weekend. That is something that I am really looking forward to.
And that sounds like the most boring thing I've ever heard of in my life.
Oh,
so it's
so good.
It's a good thing that there's, to each his own, right?
It's so good, JJ. Well, JJ, think of it this way. What JJ? Okay, you are a man of action. Am I correct?
Yeah, in fact, like that's on my business card right now. It says JJ Gordon, amateur plumber, man of action.
And so you're always on the go, right? You're always on the go. As a good improviser, you're a very yes and guy, right?
That's
and
correct.
So you've always got a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of plates spinning, right? A lot of spinning plates while you've got irons in the fire.
How many more of those can you come up with?
You've got you're burning your candle from 7 different sides. On the plates while you've got a bunch of irons in the fire, and at the same time you're making biscuits, right? You're making scones, you're making all sorts of bakery goods that you're feeding yourself and other people. You're doing all of these things at the same time. So at what point, JJ, do you seek out your version of like the Zen garden, where you go there to be still and to not be doing all those other things, not even devoting your mental resources to them, just sort of going and existing in a way that feels nice, like you're unclenching the muscles in your body and in your brain? What do you do to go and achieve that? Because if you're not achieving that, I would say, JJ, that's the thing that you need to devote yourself to doing this summer, is finding out what is JJ's little Zen garden-y-esque place, activity, time of day, you name it, right? Just whatever it is that gets you to center yourself. What would that be?
So over the last maybe month and a half, Jill and I have stopped going to bed at the same time, going up to the bedroom. And I have stayed up later. And now, like, this is going to sound ultra boring, but like 9 o'clock, right? Like crawl into bed around 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And usually, something's on TV, I'll check some emails, but you're winding down for the day. And my superpower, we don't want to forget this. My superpower is I can fall asleep in about 5 seconds.
Ugh, I hate that about you.
It's amazing.
Fucking, whenever I see you do it, I'm like, you son of a bitch.
And it takes Jill longer to fall asleep than it takes me to fall asleep.
It takes normal people, JJ.
Yes. So what I've started doing is I've stayed up later. And while it's been nice, I'm going outside and I'm sitting in my hammock swings.
Nice.
And I'm enjoying kind of the, it's not quiet because I am in, what I would consider inner city in Fargo. So there's, you can hear some traffic, and every now and then you hear a siren go off, and there's the sounds of the neighborhood. But like from maybe like 9:30 to 10:30, I sit and just kind of enjoy my own company. And it's been like something I look forward to. And then I go upstairs, and by then, like George is snoring at the end of the bed, and I go to sleep. And I fall asleep, and there you go. So like that's what I've found recently is kind of my Zen garden space. Now, that being said, I also am really good at, when I go on vacations, like to grab a book, a physical book. I'm also good about just like finding spot. When I was at that convention in Orlando, I spent a lot of time like just chilling out in the lobby space. And they had a big like central bar and all these spaces. I'm like, I'll just sit here and enjoy this. This is good. So yeah, so I kind of like that.
What are you looking forward to this summer?
I don't have a lot of stuff I don't have anything that's like in the hopper right now. And so I kind of need to find what that is. Like, I think that's part of this is like, what's the next thing I'm really looking forward to? I actually had a celebrity encounter, an unknown to me that this is going to happen, celebrity encounter on Friday that kind of piqued my interest a little bit and got me like, ooh, I'm kind of excited for this. And so I thought, well, maybe this is one of the summers where I go somewhere for a con, and like they're doing these amazing, like, here you can meet 25 cast members from Back to the Future. And so I was thinking, like, maybe that's one of those things I should do, is go and see and experience one of those, or, just some of that fun stuff that happens.
You know what you should do? You should also take with you a disposable camera. And so when you're meeting them, get a photo with that and get that printed out, and then like actually make a photo album like dedicated to that. So you've got this like physical book that's sitting like on your shelf that you can always dive into, and you would have the digital copies of it. But I think that'd be a lot of fun to just make something like that.
It's funny is the last time I had to, someone was like, hey, what do I do with this? And they had, excuse me for the yawns, everyone. I hope you're enjoying your Memorial Day. I hope, like, someone's like, hey, what do I do with this? And they had a disposable camera, one of the water ones, the underwater ones. And I said, I don't know, actually. And so after some Googling, we found out you could take it to a Walgreens.
Yep.
But they like shipped it out, and they're like, 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not happening on site. Yeah, for sure. It's not.
Which is amazing, because they used to send those things. Like, one of my all-time favorite stories is I was asked by my good buddy Phil and Jared Nillis to come with them because they were going to do this drive, and they wanted me to come with on the drive. And I heard them explain what it was, and I will tell you what it is in a second. But my initial reaction was like, nope, horrible idea. That's dumb. That's stupid. This is the worst idea you've ever had. So, yeah, right?
Real man of action, I guess. Yeah.
Yep. So, a casual friend of ours from high school, a casual friend. I never hung out with him. I never had been to his house. I had never met his mom. But like this guy who was kind of in our wheelhouse in high school, his mom had a job, and her job was for a logistics company that was hired by Target every single day. And you would go to Target right when they close, and they would hand over all of the film that people had dropped off for 24-hour film processing. So what you would do is you would then take we're talking about 5-10 bags full, like giant industrial bags full of film canisters, and you would drive them to Sauk Center, Minnesota, where there was a big company that did film processing, and you would drop the film off. Meanwhile, you would pick up all of the prints that were done and then drive it back to Fargo, and you would drop it off with like the night manager who was handling the who would stock them so that the next day when Target opened, people would be able to pick up their photos. And so she got paid something like $100 to do this run, because Sauk Center and back, you're talking about like 4 hours of your life that just disappear, and it all has to be after Target closes and before it opens up again in the morning. So this kid's mom is doing that. He had told his mom was like, I can't do it. I've got other plans. Will you just do this for me? Because they provide you a minivan, like a company minivan. And so her son says, sure. Then he decides he has something else going on. So he asks Phil and Jared, hey, do you guys want $100? All you have to do is drive this film back and forth. They said yes. And then they said, hey, we'll invite JJ, and then we'll split it all, $33 a piece for this road trip in the middle of the night. Again, nope, not going to happen. Sounds like a horrible idea. What are you getting me involved with here? So I don't go with them. And instead, I go to my friend Scott's house. And Scott, my friend Davey, we're all in the basement. We're playing video games. I think we watched the original Tron. And
it sounds like a much safer night.
Right. And I'm going to say this is like early March. So
you said this was Phil and Jared, right?
Phil and Jared.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, right. I feel like this is early March, so the weather it's cold, but it's not necessarily like blizzardy out, but it's, there's still snow on the ground. So at one point earlier that week, I was driving down 25th Street and two giant potted like fake trees were in the middle of the roadway. And so I had grabbed them and put them in the back of my car because I thought, oh, well, I could do something with these, or I'll put them on the porch at the apartment. That doesn't matter until the end of the story, but you need to know that. So around 1:45 in the morning, I get a call from Jared, and he's like, hey, you need to come to Fergus Falls, Minnesota, specifically the Big Chief Cafe and Truck Stop, because we hit a deer and totaled this minivan. So I'm like, oh boy, okay. So I get in my Mercury Mountaineer, and Scott and Davey come with me, thinking we're just picking up Jared and Phil. Now the Big Chief Cafe is only about 50 minutes away. So, we're 2 hours there and back, and we're having a great time, like, on our way down there. We get to the Big Chief Cafe, and there's Phil and Jared, and they are sitting in a booth in the back, and to spend their time, they are looking through people's photos. They are opening these photos, and they've identified a couple of people that they know. They're like, oh, this is this so-and-so, and like this, and they're just leafing through people's photos. And so then they turn and they're like, oh, by the way, we ordered fries and like 2 Dr. Peppers, but neither of us have money. So could you cover our tab for the diner? So I pay the tab for the diner, and we go to get in the car, and they're like, well, we have to go back to the van, which is on the side of the road, and we need to get all the pictures. We at least have to bring the pictures back. We can't just leave them there. So we drive like another 25 minutes further away from Fargo. We pick up these pictures. Tucker, there are so many bags of these photos, because like what they do is they put these photos inside their little sleeves, but then they're filling these giant garbage bags. I don't have enough space in my car, so we're driving home and everyone's got one of these big bags in their laps. And here's the thing. When we get to the minivan, which, by the way, neither of them are insured to drive because they are not employed by this logistics company, and they're not even tangentially connected to it because, remember, the woman whose job it was just going to have her son do it. This minivan, Tucker, was annihilated. Like, it was inside out. Shit. And I was like, you hit a deer? And then Phil says, yeah, at 100 miles an hour. So they were trying to get home so that they could beat like bar clothes and get like a drink. And they hit a deer going at 100 miles an hour. So we are now super uncomfortable because, of course, if the back of my Mountaineer didn't have 2 gigantic potted plants in it, which I wasn't afraid, I couldn't give away. I couldn't just leave it at the Big Chief Cafe. we make our way back to Fargo, and I was like, okay, you guys get this out. And they're like, well, can't you just take us over to Target? And I'm like, no, I do not want to be associated with this at all, because you're going to go and deliver these things, and the person's going to look at you and be like, well, you're not the usual people who, drop these things off. And by the way, where's the minivan that like the logistics company provides to you? And like, I don't want any part of it. I heard through the grapevine that woman lost her job.
Oh my God.
But is that a big surprise, really?
Well, no, but like, Jesus Christ. I mean, as far as she knew, her son was taking care of it, right?
Right.
Right. And was he insured?
Not by this logistics company.
Okay, yeah.
And
so,
like,
I mean,
here's the thing. I think what they did was they hit this deer. They got the van to the side of the road. It's not like they called the police. And then when they got back to Fargo, they called this woman and they were like, oh, hey, you're going to have to go deal with this. The van's on the side of the road. So, bye. So yeah,
and like your spidey sense was so on point that day.
Bingo,
like,
right? Like,
there is nothing about this that sounds like a good idea to me.
It was so good. Ugh. I just like I was.
Oh,
and you know what? That's happened a couple of times in my life where I've gone like,
well,
this doesn't feel right.
Of your high school, coterie of friends, by far, those are the two who always had the worst judgment.
Oh, easily.
Like, I mean, there's a couple other winners on the list, but I would say of all of them, it's those two.
But
that would be, hey, are they doing it? Stay the fuck away, because you don't know what's about to happen.
Right. But with great risk comes great reward, because I do think part of it is both of them ended up having amazing experiences. They also just had like crazy, I can't believe this just happened, like literally there was a night where it was described to me about how Jared and another friend of his were chased by a farmer in a field with a shotgun. Like the joke, the cliche came true for them. Like chased through a cornfield with a shotgun. So yeah, and it's not that I haven't had my fair share of trouble over the years. I certainly have. There's just a moment where you go, you know what? I'm going to make a better choice right now.
Yeah, that feels like that should have been one of those awards given out by the yearbook, like most likely to be chased through a field by a farmer.
Yeah, bingo.
And Jared would have won handily too. There's no question who's getting who that's happening to.
Do you remember? Were you elected anything with your superlatives?
I think I was like something like second, like most creative or something.
Well, that's fun.
And I think acting or something. I can't really remember.
You know what mine was?
What?
Most likely to host a TV talk show.
Oh, hey, well.
And I was like, I'm almost there.
Actually, I mean, that's a solid one. That's definitely a solid one.
I mean,
do you think
it though? Because like this was the era of like Dr. Phil was hot, Jerry Springer was still big. I mean, I don't think that they thought I was going to have something with journalistic integrity. I thought they were like, this is a guy who can smile and be like, colon cancer awareness month. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So if you're suddenly, let's say you're suddenly getting attention from the industry as like a potential, like, new face to really try and curate and sell in some way. What kind of TV career do you want to have? What are you saying to your agent?
Last year I turned down a TV show. Did I tell you that?
No.
There's a company, a local company, who wanted to package together a TV show, and it would be based around me, like just interviewing. So essentially what I do every day on the radio, but doing this. And they kind of told me like how it would go. And I'm like, oh, that sounds horrible. No, thank you. Not interested at all. I would love to do a national TV show, but I don't want to do something here.
What would be about it that was awful?
Well, for starters, this company isn't even based in this town. So they would set up a remote recording area. So like my job would be to come in and turn on the lights and like turn on the equipment and be like, well, I hope that the producer who's hundreds of miles away can remote into this computer.
Oh, okay.
And,
No.
and like the majority of their shows look like they're being filmed from like security cameras.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I was like, not interested in that. That just doesn't look good to me. That doesn't feel good. That being said, one of our previous guests on the show had talked to me for a while about starting a talk show that takes place on street corners randomly. So you would show up with like a desk with a chair and like, you know, like a microphone in front of you, and then an easy chair and a mic on a boom pole, and then a camera, and you would just tape it, and you'd say like, hey, listen, do you want to be a guest on this talk show? And they would sit down and you'd interview them like you would like that. And maybe one out of the three guests, you'd have a secondary thing you do where it would be like, oh, can you, do you sing? Or I've got a keyboard. Do you want to play a piano? Do you want to play like a song or something like that? And there's something about that idea that I really like, and I think it'd be a lot of fun, like an impromptu talk show.
It's like you're combining a talk show with Dave Attell.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's what jaywalking was on the Tonight Show,
right?
But like you get the feel, like you get to sit there and you're like, all right, my guest for the next 5 minutes is Margaret. Margaret was walking down the street. Margaret, where are you heading right now? Oh, I'm going to the Toasted Frog for dinner tonight. Be like, all right, fantastic. Now, Margaret, it says here in my notes.
You know what you would do really good at?
What?
Being a journalist on red carpets.
Oh, I would. You know what I was honestly. Thank you for saying that. I've been watching through The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Amazon Prime, and that's loosely based on Joan Rivers. And then I was listening to a podcast that mentioned Joan Rivers, and I thought to myself, what a great career she had, where she was that person who red carpets aren't fun. Anyone who talks to you about it will tell you, like, you stand there awkwardly for hours having to smile, and occasionally you're answering a question, and it's 50 people being like, Tucker, 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 to your left, to your left, to your left, Tucker, Tucker. And so like you go and you answer a question, and then you move on, you answer a question, but like you never get a time to find your rhythm and stuff like that. But people sought out Joan Rivers because Joan Rivers was so good at making them feel comfortable and would say something that didn't feel like, oh, it's the same question I've been asked by 50 reporters already today. So thank you. I think I could do that same thing. There's also a certain part of me that says, in this world of like TikTok and Instagram Reels, I just need to go out and do something with a microphone and just see what I end up with, you know? And like,
even like as something as simple as when we used to do Question of the Week at Trollwood.
Bingo.
But you're on camera, you've got the stick mic, you're man on the street, and that I think you would be good at that. I think stuff like that would make me like curl up into the fetal position of just like having to like cold approach people constantly. I would wither and die on the inside, but that's my personality. You could absolutely crush it at doing that kind of person on the street style.
Do you know, I've been interviewed many, many times in random spots, but the most exciting person on the street moment that I've ever had was with Randy, another previous JJ Meets World guest, who we should have on the pod again. I really enjoy Randy.
Yeah,
and like
gotta catch up with her.
And so Randy had come to visit me in Chicago, and we had like 5 great days, and it was the last day, and we were just walking to one of my favorite movie theaters, and there was a woman with a camera, and she was interviewing some guy, and he was being very animated and just we're going by. She's like, "Oh, hey, excuse me real quick. Could you did you want to do this?" And Randy like nudges me and I don't notice right away because I'm bad. When people flirt with me, I don't realize it's flirting. When people are like celebrities sometimes, I don't realize it because I'm too busy looking at their like messenger bag being like, "That's a good-looking messenger bag." I just don't notice those things around me as much as I probably should. But she's like, that's, you know, she's like, she's famous. She's from Facts of Life. And so it was Lisa Whelchel who played Blair, the very snobby blonde woman from Facts of Life. And she was interviewing people about their opinions on homeschooling. And so she interviewed Randy and I. And Randy had been homeschooled, so she was able to give a perspective on it. And then we were like, "Can we take a photo with you?" And she goes, "Sure." So we take a photo with her real quick. I find out later that part of her career post her acting career was she really got into like formalizing homeschooling techniques and textbooks for families who are choosing that method of education. And so she was out there just, you know, probably getting information, stuff like that. Now, here's the downside, Tucker. And this is really sad. This is the part that's a bummer. That was the summer where I grew my hair out to shoulder length and had a neck beard. And so my picture with Blair from Facts of Life is disgusting. I wish, why didn't someone come to me and tell me about beard oil?
Right. I'm pretty certain if you go back in the JJ Meets World archives, it's actually the thumbnail of a previous episode at one point early on. Fairly early. It might be one of Randy's episodes. So if anyone wants to see it, just, you know, dig back into the early aughts.
Oh, God. Oh, Lord. All right. Well, listen, it's Memorial Day. It's time that we get out there to a barbecue and just enjoy some living. Sound good?
Let's do it.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. The story I can't tell you is about the night I met Tootie and we killed a man.